Hi everyone. Today we at Hyperight have the pleasure to talk to another speaker during the Data Innovation Summit 2022, Abul Fahimuddin. Abul, thank you for taking the time to do this interview. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us more about your professional background and what's your current working focus.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for the kind introduction. And first of all, a big thank you for Data Innovation Summit organizers to give me this opportunity to share my experiences within the data innovation space. So the way I would like to introduce myself, I'm very passionate about data, algorithms, and analytics. And I truly believe if these triads are symbiotically leveraged, sustained value can be realized for enterprises. I'm a numerical mathematician by background. I started my scientific programming career at the High Performance Computing Center in Technical University of Braunschweig in Germany back in the days, 2004. After receiving my PhD degree at the University of Bergen, I joined Royal Dutch Shell in the UK, and also I had a stint in the Netherlands where I worked as a geophysicist. And since 2013, I have been working for Equinor, a leading energy company, and holding several leadership positions, including working into the operational environment in the research and development departments, and also as recent as to a digital center of excellence, where we have been spearheading the digitalization in Equinor. And at this point in time, I'm working as a project manager or product owner for enterprise data analytics project. And as for now, I'm super excited to launch my career move within the DataOps and MLOps, and especially how to scale digital initiative across the enterprise and organizational silos. That's me, Natasha.
Very impressive. And actually, you touched upon a little bit on your topic during the Data Innovation Summit, which is scaling artificial intelligence and machine learning initiative for sustained value realization in asset-heavy industry, from data ops and IT infrastructure to machine learning ops and change management. What the delegates during the summit can expect from this presentation?
Yes, Natasha, I know the title is mouthful, and there is a reason behind this, and I would really try to explain this. It's because it's no brainer. Most of the organization, especially after the 2 years almost that we have been going through COVID-19 imperatives, it's clear, at least for the major organizations, the world that we are about to relaunch, restart, will be heavily digital. We believed it already, but it's a fact now, I would argue. Now, everybody wants to be data-driven, which means that we want to take business decisions more and more based on the liberated and contextualized data, that data set that we own, and actually the derived analytics. Now, it can be as simple as building a dashboards, or it can be as complex as making the most advanced reinforced learning, machine learning models. But a lot of the companies that I'm referring to have been quite successful, at least within the European context where I know a little bit of, at the proof of concepts level. Of the high potential use cases, but actually very limited number of these use cases have been put into productionized setting, and even fewer of these use cases have been gone into the scaled environment, because if we don't scale digital initiatives across the organizational boundaries, true value realization is not possible. And this is actually happening in spite of pouring enormous investment, both in terms of the financial investment, also putting a major organizational change drive, putting a lot of data scientists, data professionals, you name what. But why? It's actually paradoxical in my head that it's actually the data itself is the hindrance as we experience to becoming more data-driven. This is a paradox, at least to me. The reason is industrial data sets is very complex. Complex not only in terms of the volume, types, sources. You can have myriad of issues when you have data sources. But if you really want to be truly data-driven, your data that is coming from disparate sources needs to be contextualized, needs to be liberated first. Then it has to be contextualized. Then the data will be what we call analytics ready. And only then you could put your advanced algorithms, your let's say dashboards, your machine learning tools on top of it, and then you scale. Now, in order to do that, is getting clear for us, especially within the asset heavy industry, is we need to operationalize what we are calling data ops. I will come back more in details during this interview, Natasha,
Yes.
but we need to start from there, and we need to liberate our data in a way. It has to be software. There needs to be a software solution to do it. Manual stitching and cutting pieces, data sources together will be very cumbersome. So we need a codified solutions to liberate our data. We need to create our data products, which will require a state-of-art IT infrastructure in the cloud, of course. And the story doesn't finish there, actually. Once you started to make these machine learning or data-driven models, these models need to be taken care, because your data source input will be changed. And that takes us to the MLOps part. How you gonna make sure that you're actually maintaining your machine learning models evergreen? And it's not the, again, not the end of the stories. Once you are doing all these things, you need to inspire your people to go for these new ways of working. And that's why I couldn't actually shorten my title, because if you really want to scale, at least these are some of the building blocks I would really love to touch upon during my presentation.
Interesting. And once you mentioned the complexity of all of this, for sure we can expect also some kind of limitations, especially in the deployment of the initiatives. You also emphasize that in your presentation. You say that without scaling, the deployment of artificial intelligence and machine learning applications has limited value realization. Can you tell us more what you mean by this?
Sure, I will try at least. I will be a little bit tabloid here, if that is okay, Natasha. I think when we do a proof of concepts, because we really invest a lot of our time, energies, and people. But in the major organizational setting, proof of concepts are mostly actually negative cash flows. You are investing for the future. You are not creating value from the first day, because you are just proving some concepts. Now, one of the main benefits of artificial intelligence is we call generalization. That if you create a model for a particular problem, for a particular asset, or a particular fleet, your model needs to be generalized enough so that you can scale it to 10 other assets, 10 other fleets, 10 other IoT devices, plus. Do you see? This is what I'm mentioning about the scaling. So if you really don't, if you are not able to scale, so you will be always stuck to your proof of concept. That means your investment will be still, your return on investment still will be negative. You can only be positive and more once you scale this across your fleet. And that is the crux of this problem of digital transformation. How can we scale from proof of concept? The first step, of course, the productionizing it, then taking that productionized model to across the business areas, across the fleet. That is the name of the game here. So that's why I argue, without scaling, I'm afraid to say here, Natasha, that your value realization not only would be limited, I would argue even further, you will be actually, your net present value will be also affected. Your internal rate of return would be much slower than you expect. And there is another aspect of it I want to bring in. Society expects us a lot nowadays. The slower you are, you will have more pressure from the society, from whichever domain you are working on. So we need to be agile. We need to be fast to create value from digital initiatives. And the scaling is the name of the game here.
I totally agree that there are different type of pressures during this process. And every process needs some kind of change, the change management, and you touched upon this topic several times in this transformation from experimental to value-driven AI realization across all the functions of the organizations. But who should initiate this change, and how critical it is for the success of the transformation?
Thank you so much. This is sometimes I would say that even myself or my colleagues, team colleagues that I have seen, sometimes we underestimate this part. It's because we are very much into technology, algorithms. We forget about, at the end of the day, it's the human, they're going to use the technologies, right? And that's where it's coming. And I will just try to frame a little bit. This is important because, let's say, the energy industry where I'm coming from, we have been producing energy, finding, energy sources for decades in a very successful manner. People have been working for 20, 30 years. We are successful. Now I come and tell to my experienced geologist, hey, you know what? I found an amazing tool. This machine will solve all your pain points. Do we really think the person will accept this? Of course not, because there are a lot of issues. People are used to what they're doing. For example, in the oil and gas space, health and safety is very important. We just cannot change the things. So that's why in our mind, the change management is how to inspire, how to engage the people who are actually going to use your digital tools to make how these tools will make their life easier, how they can be more efficient, how they can be more creative. And that is a part. That's how we defined our change management. It's like we have a word around it. Not only us, many of us in the industry. It's the new ways of working. We are working in a one way. Now we have to do something new where the data will help us and guide us to make better decisions. There is one rule of thumb here, at least personally I follow, is we are not discussing here replacement. Sometimes it's a little bit overstated. AI and machine learning will displace this task, that task. Actually, as we are learning more, the buzz is getting a little bit settled and we see the reality, those are practitioners, we know that from real-time experience, that AI and machine learning application will complement what we do. Of course, there will be some areas, there will be some replacement, but at least within the energy space, we clearly see it's a decade, and maybe it should never happen. Maybe we should not, surrender human ingenuity just to machines. So I think that's also very important. Now, coming back to your question, Natasha, it was about, who should start. For us, it's very clear. Is the top management must own this. This is very important, all the way up to CEO. Enterprises at Equinor, we are very clear. We want to be the leading energy company in energy transition, and that means our executive body has to provide us, people like me, all the mandate, funds, support around it. So we're going to start at the top. But of course, that is also not enough. You need to also have a bottom-up approach, and also what's happening in between. So I would say that this is again the symbiotic relationship, a close contact with the top management, dedicated team, inspire at the bottom, and a razor-sharp organization in the middle. And all has to work together. And again, you could see that already things are getting more complex now. So I hope that is actually setting us the scene. So change management is just one of the important aspects to scaling digital initiatives. It is already getting more complicated when we have other technical issues that we need to solve. This is a major undertaking. So this is something big, a lot of opportunities. Hey, this ain't easy.
To add to the complexity, and you already mentioned before that you want to share more about DataOps and machine learning ops. You say that cybersecurity, DataOps, machine learning ops are part of the equation. So why is this important, and what do you mean?
It is a challenging task, but not impossible. That means that no organization can solve it alone. This is very, very important. Lots of organizations, I would argue, when I saw in 2017 and 18, that is the time, energy industry, some of the major enterprises took digital transformation very serious. And there was initially we could see some of our peers were, I can do everything myself. And to be honest, it's not possible. So that's why I want to put in other words, it's the digital ecosystem that we need to go to the marketplace. For example, enterprises like Equinor, we are good in, let's say, finding hydrocarbon or new energy sources like offshore wind and produce them. We believe we are one of the top players, okay? But on the IT solution, we are very strong. but we need to partner with externally, with a selected partnership in emerging digital ecosystems. And that's where my cybersecurity question comes. Suddenly, organizations like us, which are very inward looking, we collaborate a lot with externals, but this is a new ways of collaboration, okay? It's software as a service that you need to tap into from the marketplace. Suddenly, your whole cloud infrastructure might get exposed to the new external players, because we argue that, you know, our next innovation may come from the distant part of the world. It doesn't matter where it comes from. We take the best in the world. And then suddenly you need to expose your very, very secure IT infrastructure to your new partners. And that's where your cybersecurity questions comes pivotal, because by aiming to become better, you cannot compromise your original infrastructure that you have. That is just one aspect of it. And also, as we are having this conversation over online with the online meetings, as you could see, we are very exposed to the cloud environment, and that invokes a very, very strict cybersecurity regimes, layers of cloud infrastructure you need to place. And that's why I would actually argue in my presentation is that we want to share our data, we want to collaborate with external partners, but we must do it in the most cyber secured way. So that's why they all have to be together.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing your expertise on this. And now to simplify everything, what your recommendations would be for anyone that's interested in this topic? So where they should start, what they should pay attention to?
Yeah, I think, excuse me, that's a big topic. But, you know, when I look back at it, I think, it starts your to the reality check. We need to be digital driven. It looks like we need to have a hybrid cloud and on-prem systems. We need to take this as a fact. You know what? And we need to appreciate societal expectations. I'm reassuring this. What's the society wants us? Society wants energy companies to do things about climate change imperatives. We need to take it for granted. And once we have these thoughts on our head, it needs to start from the top of the organization. It really needs to be owned actually by the executive committee to really say, okay, you know, this is a strategic direction we must go, and then go and do it. So that's the one thing. But we must not forget about engaging the bottom-up innovation right from the start. We must not wait to create a center of excellence and do some amazing proof of concept and use cases and wait. We need to do parallel. And another point I would say that as in the last 4 or 5 years, the technology space, the DataOps space, the MLOps space, we know we need these components. There are players at this point in time. There are collaborators in the emerging ecosystems. One need to start discussing with them very early on that I would say that we must think about in terms of ecosystem. That energy industry, for example, that's the industry I know a little bit. We are thinking as an ecosystem that if my collaborators become successful, they will make me more successful. This is a paradigm shift, the way industries think when you have a lot of competition. So I think if our competitors provide a technology that we can tap into and vice versa, it will make all us better. And that is the core of digital business models. Thinking about in terms of ecosystem, working with the collaborators in a safe and manner, sensitive to the societal expectation, take immediate steps, inspire the bottom up, and owned by the top management. And you need to attract some top talents as well, because this is a complex task. So I think there is a myriad of dimensions you can think of it, but I think it's the bottom up and top down with the collaborators within the digital ecosystem. I think that's where some of the winners will come out, who will be able to do these things in a synchronized way.
I find these tips very helpful, and so I hope the others. And at the beginning, you presented to us your rich professional background. So we are curious to know what's the best advice that you've received during your career. And in the same time, what's the advice that you will give to any data enthusiast like you?
Sure, I'll try. I think, one of the things I truly believe is the competency development. I never stopped developing. I have been studying a lot. I'm very curious, and I believe that over the years, I have learned in a hard way. I can share it with you. It's me who should take care of my own destiny, not my leaders, not the company I work for. It's me. I need to take care of myself continuously. This is the new thing I learned last 5 years. Continuous competencies development. I am struggling to keep pace with all the technology developments that are happening, and I'm actually very proactive. So the message to the people who really want to make it: never take it granted. Look, I'm very good data scientist today, very good, not enough. Tomorrow, in 2-3 years, you may need to do something else. So I'm actually personally prepared in next 5 years. I think I need to get some new education. Actually, I think it's I actually recently had an executive MBA on digital transformation. That was 2018-19. Oh my gosh, I think 2025. I would be serious. I'm going to sit down. Okay, how relevant I am to the marketplace, because things are changing so much. So I think this curiosity, proactiveness, taking care of my own destiny by myself, I think this is something I would strongly recommend to the others. So I have answered the second part. Now, the first part of the question, what advice I got is, over the years, one thing I have realized is you need to create, actually, you need to surround you with some helping hands. Same like I have told you in terms of digital ecosystem for the company, same with me. I cannot learn everything by myself. It's impossible. But what I can do, I can try some of it, but I am always very much into creating this network of friends, colleagues, and I'm very open. You know what? I want to know it. I know that you are good at it. Could you kindly do this for me? And I vigorously chase people. So people who know me, they know me. If Abul wants to know from someone, I will chase until I get it in a nice way. And I think that gives also to your mentors a cozy feeling. The person maybe is really want to get some knowledge from me. And you start to create that trusted relationship with your mentor, mentees, friends, colleagues, doesn't matter who it is. And I think this learning metaphor, I would say, Satya Nadella has used in the Microsoft CEO, which all of us have a lot of respect, something he coined a word called growth mindset. That is, I think, the key here, that we need to continuously learn, develop, and share. Share your knowledge to others, share your experience to others, because you always learn. Even when I'm speaking with you today, I'm kind of always curious to know what will be your feedback to me. How audience will say, will they challenge me? Will they like something? And really being open to this kind of feedback mechanism will help us to grow as a person, as a data enthusiast, as a leader, you name it. So I would say being open, proactive, curious, open for feedback, sharing, I would say those are the things I try to follow.
I think you framed that perfectly. So thank you so much. And thank you again for taking the time to talk with me. And we are all looking forward to hear your presentation during Data Innovation Summit 2022.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for having me here today. And looking forward to the Data Innovation Summit, hopefully in person.